Right, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to Weather for Weather Geeks, the first edition of 2020. Hope you had a good New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day today. The weather turned out to be a pretty nice one today. Actually, the sun came out a little sooner than I thought it would. It just turned out to be a bright and sunny, albeit brisk and chilly afternoon. The wind made it feel colder than it actually was. Actually, temperatures this afternoon were a few degrees above the average. Well, as you know, if you've been watching these videos lately and following me on air and online, I've been talking a lot about year in review 2019 and how it compares to some recent years. I wanted to talk about annual precipitation going all the way back to the 30s and some of the recent trends. The 30-year average back in 1960, as far as annual precipitation goes, it was around 37 inches or so. Now we're up to about in the lower 40s, 41 inches or so worth of annual precipitation is our average. We've had 5 consecutive wetter than average years now, and of course the trend overall in recent decades has been for wetter years. Fewer of these dropout years in recent decades. These years like 1964, 1991, relatively dry years. We just don't see as many of them as we used to. And so with the final numbers in for 2019, here's how 2019 stacked up on the list of top 10 wettest years. We came in fourth place with 49.73 inches of precipitation at the Youngstown Warren Airport. That's all the liquid precipitation and melted snow. This trailed last year by just an inch or so. Last year was the second wettest year on record and number 1 on the list. Also from the most recent decade in 2011, 54.01. And half of this list, 5 out of 10 years on this list, are from the 21st century. So it has been a wet 20 years, not only here, but in many places across the Midwest and across the Ohio Valley and across the eastern U.S. as well. All right, a pretty unremarkable day temperature-wise today, but 2 years ago, of course, we were shivering on New Year's Day 2 years ago. We had a record low temperature tied on January 1st, 2018, with 1 degree below zero. All right, we're into January now, which is the heart of meteorological winter. It's when things are bottoming out temperature-wise on the averages for both the highs and the lows. We have the highs here shown. Our average high is about 33 right now, but it bottoms out for several days at 32 right in the middle of the month. This is similar to what happens in July in the summertime, where our average high peaks at 82 for something like 10 days or so, and then those averages slowly but surely start falling. Averages slowly but surely start rising again very late in January and into the month of February. Our average lows bottom out in the upper teens. We won't have anything like that anytime real soon. Pretty benign New Year's Day today across much of the country. A rainy start to the year down in Houston, Corpus Christi area, and some precipitation in the Intermountain West out into the high plains. This down here is actually the beginnings of our next weather maker, which is going to track our way as we go into the next 24 to 48 hours. Warm air is on the move. 12-degree difference compared to 24 hours ago in Green Bay, Chicago, and Springfield. And that milder air will make its presence known here tomorrow. I think we'll get into the 40s tomorrow afternoon with some sunshine in the morning. Clouds will increase in the afternoon. We should stay dry through the daylight hours, but then a wet Thursday night. A soggy start to the day Friday. That's probably when the steadiest and heaviest rain is, Friday morning. By midday and afternoon Friday, maybe some leftover drizzle. And then more showers around into the day on Saturday as this low pressure system scoots to the east. Now you'll notice here at 10 a.m. on Saturday, our model here has the rain changing to snow back towards I-71. This may be a little too fast, but the idea is that temperatures are likely to fall here on Saturday, and that will lead to a changeover, at least to some mixed precipitation, perhaps even just a changeover to just wet snow towards the end of the afternoon into the evening. Right now it doesn't look like this should amount to much, but some small slushy accumulations might occur late Saturday and into Saturday night. In case you missed this yesterday on New Year's Eve, I did the January forecast, and I'll tell you, I am really impressed with how warm it looks during the middle of the month. So that's going to tilt the odds heavily in favor of a warmer than average January, even though we'll see some typical January chill late this weekend into next week, and the cold may very well make a comeback, as you would expect, at the end of the month. But the middle of the month, very impressive warmth looks to be heading our way. Let's look at the latest modeling here. I'm going to show you the European model, but other modeling is in good agreement. We're going to fast forward here to, there's our last cold shot for a while. This is middle of next week when we may have a day or two with highs below freezing. But then look what happens. Boom. It is just a blowtorch east of the Rockies. This is the 11th of January, 12th, 13th. The oranges, even browns, are just sitting over us. That means much, much warmer than average. And if you remember back from our winter forecast, and I've mentioned this a few times in recent weeks. Our top analog for this winter, in other words, the top year in the past that had, I thought, the most similarities in the setup globally to this winter in the Northern Hemisphere was 2004-2005. And interestingly enough, right around the same time frame, in January of 2005, we had a huge January heat wave. Look at these highs, 60 on the 12th, 68 on January 13th back in 2005, and then, yeah, it turned dramatically colder after that. I don't see that as likely this year. I don't think we'll have a boom, just instant freeze after remarkable warmth like we had during mid-January of 2005, but I'm not going to be shocked if we see a day or two at least with a high temperature approaching 60, perhaps even exceeding 60, somewhere between maybe the 10th to 15th of January. Too early for exact specifics, but I'm not going to be shocked if we are flirting with some records during the middle of the month. I think 68 is unlikely at this point, but the reason I'm showing you is the timing is similar to our top analog January, part of our top analog winter back in 2005. We had a huge mid-month thaw. All right, coming up on future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks, we'll get into more specifics on that mid-month January thaw that's heading our way. Of course, a lot of people are getting impatient with the lack of snow. If you're a snow lover, if you're a cold lover, if your business depends on plowing snow, you're probably getting a little impatient after a gangbusters start to the snow season in November. It's pretty paltry in December, and I don't see much in the way of accumulating snow happening at least through the first half of January. So some impatience out there, but whenever we see something interesting to talk about, you know you're going to hear it first here on Weather for Weather Geeks. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you back here for a fresh edition of this video on Friday or Thursday.